Howdy, 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 and thank you for joining us here on this amazing Sunday evening. I'm glad all are well. One of the troop members that's here tonight that is part of the new podcast we have just started, which is the Three Can Keep a Secret If Two Are Dead podcast. Of course, living down in Florida and having to live through that hurricane and everything, but he's come out safe and sound, thankfully, just like with Cheryl and Dusty and Jerry down there and Aaron. So we're glad everybody didn't get hit as hard as they were. Tonight we have a really great topic for you. It's someone that a lot of us have heard the myth, the story surrounding this person, but there's so much more into it than you find with any other story. It's the same way. There's always going to be myth, rumor. There's always going to be certain things that are said that aren't true, but we're going to look into the life of one of the most iconic lawmen in the history of the United States, and that's going to be Buford Pusser tonight. So before we get started, let me introduce my co-host for the Three Can Keep a Secret podcast. First off, Mr. Joey, how are we doing tonight, brother?
John, how are you, sir? Hello, everybody. Welcome.
How's everything down there?
Good. Everything's good. I mean, like blessings all around, and some people, hearts go out to some people that lost everything. Some people got through minimal, and we're surviving. We're got our lights fully back on, our internet back on, and just
mostly that AC.
And AC is finally back. Yes.
Yeah. And back from his luxury vacation to New York City is our OG co-host on the show here. Please welcome our good friend, Mr. Clearwater Chad. How we doing, brother?
Good. Oh, hi, Joey. How you guys doing?
How are you?
Good. You've been to New York because you've lost some pigment, so that tells us you didn't see much sunlight. So
that's true. It was fun though.
That's good. How you're like what 8 hours away from New York City?
Yeah, right around 8 or 9. Yep.
That's what's crazy is for me to drive from Detroit to New York City is I think like 11 hours. You live in northern New York. For you to go to New York City is 8 hours. So yeah, I remember when we were there visiting with you for the solar eclipse, and we were thinking, what if we ran down to New York? And I'm like, holy crap, it's like 8 hours to get down there. So
yeah,
that's interesting. So he's at 8 hours from where he's at. You're 11 from where you're at. What's the distance between the two of you?
It was 6 hours.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, we just followed the 94 loop and took it straight through Ohio, Pennsylvania, and straight up into New York along Lake Erie.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, it was because I visited Poe too, the trip before that, and it was about the same, about 5-6 hours.
Cool. All right, so when I come down and I decide I'm going to travel your guys' way, we'll have to figure out a common ground to get together. So,
have they figured out when they're going to have DabbleCon up here in Detroit?
I don't know. I haven't heard on DabbleCon. I think it's all going to play on where Stuttering John goes. I think it'll be a big part. Is he going to be just lying and he's leaving for good, or I think it plays on that. He's always leaving every day, so he's going to be gone and threatening he's going to leave because. But that's all right because I told Shuley the other day, we got John right here. Clearwater Chad could just step in and we could still have it. You know what I'm saying? So
that's true. Actually, the week that John retired, my numbers went up quite a bit because people need to see John.
Yes,
they got to have somebody to hate on. That's for sure. But we're going to have to do a live stream talking about this guy and. Just you talk about the poster child for bipolar. My gosh, that guy changes his mind so much. It is
interesting, John. He lived in California. He's from New York, Massapequa, New York. He went to California because obviously he worked for the show out there that he did, the Tonight Show. He moved to Florida now, and he likes to drive around drinking and driving in Florida. And let me tell you, he's in the right place. He's in the right place to get arrested for the first time in his life if he keeps doing that. So they won't play down here.
Hopefully, I don't want to see him hurting anybody else. That's the big thing.
You think they'll let him go, Poe, because he drives a Mercedes Benz?
No. If anything, that's going to make him that much more. Because what color is his Benz?
I think isn't it silver or something?
Silver, I believe. Yeah, silver. Yeah.
It's like that live streamer who got busted down there in Florida, who driving around in a pink Mercedes, pulling a gun on people and stuff. And then when they stop him, there's like, you don't know who I am? I've got 1 million subscribers on TikTok. And they're like, okay, well, we got a brand new shiny pair of handcuffs for you. So he went from pink Mercedes to a gray bar motel overnight. So yeah, he got himself in a lot of trouble. So Joey, you were the one who first brought him up, and I agree. I think it's an awesome idea. What do you think about old Buford?
Very interesting character. I got a little history. I believe he was born, and I got it with the facts. I wrote, like I said, I was in a hurricane this week, so I lost a lot of stuff I had. But he was born in I believe December 12th, 1937. He was a sheriff of McNairy County, Tennessee, from 1964 to 1970, a constable of Adamsville from 1970 to 1972. He is known for his virtual one-man war on moonshiner, prostitution, and gambling. I mean, he was a guy that he had a lot of heart. He believed in law. He believed in taking on those type of operations by himself. He was successful, I think, to a point, but a tragic end for him too. The movie says the one version that he walked away a hero and didn't die. That was with Rock. But the original one, I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. Didn't he die in that one?
I believe he got blown up in that one.
Blown up in that, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
But a very interesting man, and definitely not afraid for anything. He believed what he believed in, and he conquered. And I think he'll live where the town he was sheriff for many years, as he is now. So
he's something else. And I see your fans are in here tonight. So
yeah.
So well, we were ready for that, folks. We knew these things would be coming. But yeah, he born and raised in Tennessee. And trying to see here, this guy was 6'6" tall.
Yes.
And he was a Marine. Let's see, given a medical discharge because he had asthma, and he had moved to Chicago, became known as a professional wrestler, Buford the Bull.
Buford the Bull, yep.
And got married, and he came back home in 1962, and he was chief of police in Adamsville, Tennessee, as well as let's see, in 1962, and he was also a constable from 62 to 64.
Correct.
Was when the sheriff there that had originally been in place, James Dickey, was killed in an auto accident. That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He was elected to sheriff of McNair County, Tennessee, becoming the youngest sheriff in Tennessee history. And he began going right after the very interesting group. It's pretty well known. They've been documented in the television show Justified, the Dixie Mafia, and also the State Line Mob, which I'd heard of the State Line Mob before. They are a pretty well-known organization between Mississippi and Tennessee there. And for those of you not understanding, he was in the southwest portion of Tennessee, right there at the Mississippi border, not too far from Memphis, Tennessee. And there's been a very large organization that's been running through the South down there, and it's called the Dixie Mafia for decades now. They were running moonshine, then they were running the narcotics through that area, also working in human trafficking with a lot of the prostitution rings going on down there. So they are, it's a big organization, a lot of money flowing through it, but they're also pretty dangerous.
Yes.
So.
And he was very young when he died. He was like, I think 35 or 36 when he died.
Let's see. At age 36.
74, 1974, I believe he passed away.
Yep. August 21st, 1974. I'm trying to find the, he died on August 21st, 1974 of sustained injuries in a one-car automobile accident 4 miles west of Adamsville.
Right.
I mean, isn't it interesting? You got the sheriff that he replaced died in a one-car accident, and now you've got him passing away in the same format. But my understanding is that his accident happened, and he actually ended up his cause of death was from burning to death within the vehicle.
Right.
So, yeah, it says he. This is really interesting. It says he struck an embankment at a high rate of speed ejected him from the vehicle, and the vehicle caught fire and burned, and he was also burned.
Right.
That just not a lot of sense being made out of that one, but we are also talking about the what was that 1970s. They didn't have a whole lot of forensic evidence back then. So
No, not a lot. No, I imagine a gang like the Dixie Gang probably owned a lot of people in their pocket, and of course, probably a lot of politicians, a lot of payoffs, and it was probably easy to mess with someone's car back in those days. And like in the 70s, that was a lot of bombings with the mob and the different organizations. That's how they, car bombings or mess with your car, your brake line, or whatever it caused of it. It was like you said, not a lot of people would investigate thoroughly in those days. So.
Well, I'm also thinking they may have messed with his throttle system as well, because it says he struck it at a high rate of speed, and they take care of his brakes, then you take care of his throttle as well, let it get to a certain point, and then it locks there.
Yeah.
And that's going to keep the vehicle going at that high rate of speed without the ability to stop itself. What I've always found interesting, and I've been in vehicles that have had the throttle stick wide open on me, is a lot of people don't realize literally just pushing the car in neutral.
Yeah.
But a lot of folks, they get to the point where they're so freaked out about what's going on. They're trying to figure everything out. By the time they realize that they can't do anything about it, everything's done. Let's see. Scout Inquirer, greetings from New York. There you go. Clearwater. What's up? You got another New Yorker in the house for you.
All right.
So, Chad, what do you know about Buford Pusser?
No, this is interesting because I never even heard of the guy.
Well, what was interesting was this is a guy who came out of the Marine Corps, and he was, pretty well trained. He was a tough guy, big guy, 6'6". We're talking my son's size. And you saw my son, didn't you, Chad?
I don't think so. I don't think he was home that week that I visited.
Okay. My son, I'm 6'2". My son's 6'6". And
Wow.
my son's pushing over 3 bills. He's a big, healthy boy. So imagining someone like that, that's not a small person. I'll give you all an idea here. This is a photograph of Buford Pusser to give you an idea what kind of life he led. If you look up there at his left eye, you see that big scar running from his ear down to his nose there. And, the nose has been broken a couple times. This guy really put up with a lot.
Yes.
So, Joey, what do you know about how he actually went in and started going after the illegal gambling, the prostitution rings that they're having down there and all that?
Now, I'm not 100% sure, but did they, one of his family members die, or they took land or were harassing one of his family members that led him into that?
I believe her name was Pauline Pusser.
Pauline Pusser, that's correct. Was that his wife, or was it his sister? I don't remember. I know it was something to do with a family member.
Yeah, I think it might be his wife. Informing of New Hope. Let's see. Oh, his wife went along with him when he went to a disturbance. Wow. And a vehicle came alongside them, opened fire, killing his wife.
That's correct. I have it right here. Yeah.
So
sure. Yeah. Murder of Pauline Pusser. Yeah. That's what led him to fight these people, because I think the hit was for him. She caught the bullets and died, and it just lost his. From that point on, and what do you become? You become a machine. You watch someone you love die in front of you because you're trying to clean up a town, and what's going to happen? You're gonna lose your heart. You're gonna become a man of steel. You're just gonna, everything just devours from you, and you just become a machine. And that's basically what he became. So.
Well, that's, I've talked about it before. If something happened to one of my kids, I'd lose it. I don't know what I would. I don't know how I'd be able to handle it if something happened to my wife. I don't really know how to function without her.
Correct.
So, 35 years together, that's right. And suddenly that person's gone. How do you live life? Yeah. So. And especially if it happened in that kind of situation, I guarantee you the body count's going to get a lot higher.
Yeah,
because I'm not stopping till somebody stops me. So
I don't know you that well, but I could pretty much read you. A man of honor, a man that believed in law. You were in law enforcement, but I would believe that would all be pushed aside if someone hurt your family like that. And I would believe that the world would start counting a lot of more bodies falling. I could see that in you because
gonna,
I know me. I would say my famous line would be, "Just pray the police get to you before I do." That was how I would feel, and that's how I would attack. The police better catch him before I do. So,
yeah, that's just I would literally go on a rampage. There wouldn't be any, there wouldn't be any turning back for me. So
yes, sir, I understand that.
I wouldn't play that game. And Chad, with all the restraining orders you've got against you,
that's why I have to keep going from city to city. You know what I mean? And different names and everything. So they won't catch me, guys. They won't catch me.
Nobody.
Yeah. So what was one of the most unique things about Buford and the way that he handled his justice?
His stick. His stick was the most unique. I mean, he could care about a side piece. His choice of weapon was that stick he made, and it was powerful.
I think that truly talks about the kind of person that he was, is the fact that, everybody, screw the guns. I'm going to make it personal, and I'm going to give it the personal touch and everything. So I think that that really, speaks volumes for the kind of man that he is. He's, there a lot of people could pick up a gun and go out and do something stupid, but when you're going to do it like that, you're going to go in and you're going to handle it 1-to-1 or 1-to-many, and you're going to make sure you make your point well known and how it happened. So it was and it was a different time too. I mean, you didn't have police officers being arrested for abuse and for going outside the lines. If he was around nowadays, this guy wouldn't have made it past his first 6 months as a sheriff or a constable.
You're right. You're 100%.
Yeah, he'd have been in jail pretty quickly. Yeah, he's one of the sad things about it is you've got these movies that come out. Now, the first movie that came out, who was starring in that one?
Oh, it was, what's his name? I got top of the tongue. Oh God. Well, I'm not 100. I forgot his name, but let's look it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Actually,
Joe Don Baker.
Joe Don Baker. That's right, Joe Don Baker.
Yeah,
who's played in a lot of movies. He played a lot of movies where he, I think he did one with Robert De Niro. Didn't he? Was it Joe Don Baker in the movie, the remake where Robert De Niro was the crazy guy that got out of prison, and he was the hired gun that took care of the family at the house? Joe Don Baker, I believe, started that one. It was with that Psycho movie that Robert De Niro played in, where he got out of prison, and it was a remake with Jessica Lange, Robert De Niro. I can't think of the name of the movie.
Trying to look now. I mean, this guy did so many movies, it's not even funny. Lord, I can't. There's no way of keeping track of all this. This guy was literally in like 20, 30 movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he's from Texas. He's from Grossbeck, Texas. He's 88 years old, still alive, 6'2". So when he played Buford Pusser, he was a perfect fit. I mean, you kind of look at him back then, and he was a dead ringer, for Buford Pusser. And
Cape Fear.
Cape Fear, that's it. Cape Fear, that's right. That was one of his roles that he played in.
Yeah, he's a big old boy. Let me pull up a picture of him here. I mean, he did it really well as Buford Pusser. He certainly, you got to have the right person playing the part, because they've got to look the part. They've got to, oh goodness, this thing is the picture's so big. All right, here we go. But one of the problems the earlier movie with Joe Don Baker. Now, I think that was a much closer representation. I mean, as you can see, they actually put the scar on his face and everything. They made him look like he had been beat up pretty good. And he was carrying, the actual whittled bat that he carried. And that was one of the big things a lot of people don't really understand about it, was the fact that he was, it wasn't a lot of people thought it was an axe handle. They thought it was, something, a baseball bat, those kind of. No, he literally went out, found a nice piece of wood at a closed down wood mill and whittled it into a bat.
Yes, he did.
Let's see. Rock Bottom Podcast. Do you know them?
I know Ray DeVito. That's Ray DeVito.
Going to be going live at 10 p.m. punks. Link to you, Joey. There you go.
Now, Ray, I'll pass. Thank you.
He's
I
a funny guy.
there's so many people coming over from the Dabbleverse that I don't even know about. So
I don't know if that's such a good thing all the way, John. I don't know if that's good for you or going to be bad for you. Just it's got.
I warned John.
Yeah. Yeah, Chad had warned me, and I've also been over there and seen a lot of stuff on the Shuley network and things like that. So I know how they how a lot of this stuff runs. Yeah, he was also in Fletch. He did good in that. Right. But the thing is that when the first movie, I think, was much more accurate in the telling of the story. The second movie, the Dwayne Johnson movie, yeah, it was a good watch. It was, but the fact is that it was Hollywood. They had to they had to change the narrative of it. They had to change a lot of different things. And as someone who grew up around that whole Southern kind of mentality, the way that things work down there was nothing flashy and glamorous about what they were doing down there. They literally showed up at different places, and they would go in and find old abandoned buildings where they would set up these impromptu casinos. It was mainly they just rolled in some slot machines, and they had some card playing tables, things like that. But it wasn't like they showed in the movies where it looked like you walked into MGM Grand or something like that. And as for the prostitution rings, they literally, what they did to keep from getting caught by like the state police and such, these women went out in RVs and motorhomes, and they would literally go from place to place to place, and they would be on the CB radio letting everybody know where they were going to be at. And that's how everybody found them and got over to them. And, they were making their living doing that. What a lot of people didn't realize is that they had the Dixie Mafia and the State Line Mob were the ones taking all the money. Yeah. And they basically forced these women into it. A lot of them were heavily dependent on narcotics. And so that's how they kept them going. You see a lot of the same things coming out of Eastern Europe now, with women being brought into Western Europe and into the United States, into Canada. They're even doing it down in Australia, places like that. So there was a there was a strip club here right by the airport that got shut down. What was going on? They were in links with the Russian mafia, bringing women in from all over Eastern Europe. A lot of them, like I said, very heavily dependent on narcotics. They were bringing them in, and they were running literally a brothel out of a strip club here. And so, if folks think that these things aren't still happening, think again, because it is happening. And we talk about Scientology and what they do. Okay, I was reading one of the comments there, but those are the things that are going on in the world, folks. And we focus on Scientology and what they're doing, but these things go far deeper than that. Yeah. And we have to be cognizant of the fact that, there's a lot of bad people in the world. And according to Hollywood, every time that a good guy steps up, they always win. Right. And it's not how it works, not in the real world. Good guys get mowed down, they get taken out, and they, the people keep going right on with what they were doing. The only thing I think that really made a big difference in this one was how much publicity and how much national exposure that came into this because of the Buford Pusser story. Yeah.
Being a small county, like you said, very tight knit, run by the Dixie mob. And it's funny what you were saying about how the prostitution was. I believe Smokey and the Bandit movie, they had a page where they were on the highway and the truckers were pulling off when they were letting Burt Reynolds through, and there was a trailer with a roving trailer where they met the girls. And that still goes on. I think somewhere deep in the South, if you're on the road and you got a CB, you'll hear truckers getting pulled off the road, invited over to places like that. I think it still exists in the deep South somewhere. And deep South's a wild place, man. A lot of small towns. I mean, Memphis, Tennessee, and then right on the line, West Memphis, which is Arkansas side. That's a pretty corrupt area over there still. It's it's good old boys over there. Very tight knit people over there. So
and that's one of the things is, especially in these these smaller communities, areas like that, they're very cut off from the rest of the world. Yes. They their viewpoint on it is, why in the world would we worry about what they're doing in New York or someplace, or LA or someplace like that? And we got our own problems here and ain't none of them here helping us. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from people down south. What's it matter what's going on in Detroit? They ain't doing nothing for us.
Right.
So they don't care about, how the rest of the world operates. They got their own way of doing things.
Yep.
Especially if you get like with my people down in the Appalachia for a long time, this was, to this day, they're still considered the poorest communities in the United States are in the Appalachia.
Really?
And what's really interesting is when you hear people talk, they talk about the way the vernacular in Appalachia, the way that they speak, the way that you go do this, and what they don't realize is that when major universities did a study on it, that is the closest you're going to get to actual Shakespearean vernacular is
right.
how the people in Appalachia talk, because it's been so unchanged throughout the years.
Wow, interesting. And another famous guy started out as a moonshiner. Didn't Larry Flint? He started out as a moonshiner as well, didn't he? And had a couple stills.
I've always just thought, to be honest with you, I'd always thought that guy was just one of the filthiest, dirtiest people there were.
Oh, he was.
I never really had any interest.
Yeah.
I know they made a movie about him, and he's they played him up and all that, and he won the big Supreme Court lawsuits and everything. But the fact is I've just thought that guy was just dirt, and I never really had any interest in him.
And don't forget the Duke boys ran moonshine too, guys.
A lot of moonshiners out there.
You don't dare talk about the Duke boys,
That's right. Good old boys.
But to give you an idea, folks, when you start thinking about the influence that Buford Pusser had when they came out with Smokey and the Bandit, Buford T. Justice was actually a comedy play on the whole Buford Pusser thing. So they did that as, a lot of people looked at it as an insult, where other people looked at it and they were like, well, that's actually, they're doing an homage to him, but they're doing it because the fact is Buford Pusser, that guy did things his own way. He didn't care about what the law said or how it felt. Right. And then, of course, going into the late 70s, early 80s with the Dukes of Hazzard, Roscoe, he was actually a play on the name as well. He was another one that they propped up there due to the legacy of Buford Pusser. Yes. So let's see, the West Memphis 3. You guys know anything about that one?
No, I don't. That's interesting. I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, let's see.
Interesting.
Let's see. I've never heard about Tangier Island, Virginia. I know that I think it was either Harvard or one of the big ones down there did a thing on it about the fact that that's the closest you're going to come to Shakespearean English. You know who Turbs McGurk?
Great guy. Very, very knowledgeable person on a lot of things. Good
awesome. Guy. Well, Turbs, let's see, 55 years old, live in Southeast Michigan, law enforcement officer for over 30 years. Worked pretty much every position you can think of, from, being a rookie patrol officer all the way up to ending my career as a chief of police in a small town here in Southeast Michigan. I worked for my first department, the one I originally retired from, was, when I got there, it had one of the highest crime rates in the state of Michigan. By the time I retired, and that I'm not saying it's because of me. It was our department was smart. They hired in a bunch of young officers with a lot of ethics and honor to them. And we started knocking the crime rate down in the city. And it was great to be able to, all the old guys retired out. So it was great to be able to start getting other people who were thinking like me, no more of the old boys network, just get out there and knock this stuff down. After leaving that department as the administrative lieutenant, I went on to Detroit, worked out of Detroit headquarters for Detroit Police Department. And then when I left Detroit, I went to a small Southeast Michigan department where I was chief of police, and finally decided, you know what, I'm too old to be playing this game anymore. So let's see.
Turbs is a very good guy. I've had my Turbs and I went round and round a few times, and I learned that I misjudged him, and since then he's one of my mods. We're on speaking terms, and hopefully getting the friendship to get better and better each day. So,
can I tell my background, Poe?
Yes, that was good. I'll do a 30-second version.
So I'm Clearwater Chad. I'm good friends with both John Poe and Joey C. And for anyone that likes material on Stuttering John, you can visit it on my channel. I also play the #1 attorney in the Dabbleverse, Frank Amadeo. He's a better attorney than Vinny, and that's the fact, Jack.
And my attorney.
Yeah,
I think that it's I think you cut it a little short there. Chad does some hilarious content. He's got no worry about, anybody's too big or too mean or too they're going to come at him. He's willing to go out there and put the stuff out there.
Yeah.
And OG Drip says the 3 story is about 3 guys that in Memphis, they unalived a kid and claim they are innocent, if he remembers correctly. I'm definitely going to be looking that one up. I think that might be a good one for a future one for us here, folks. Also, while I was researching for tonight's content, I was someone had gotten in touch with me on email about someone named Oakley Dean Baldwin. I messaged this person. I'd like to get them on because not only have they written a book about Buford Pusser, they have a Facebook page about stuff. They have their own YouTube channel. They do a lot of the old school unsolved crime kind of stuff. So if we can get them on, that would be awesome. Be able to have them on in a future episode here, just interviewing them about what they're doing. Yeah. Andrew B. I recently lost someone close in a strange way. The family needs to ask law enforcement states away many questions. How could it? Absolutely, Andrew. I'll put my my email down there for you. And yeah, definitely get hold of me. I don't know, I might be able to give you some guidance on it. But the thing is, at least we'll try, see what we can do. Joe, yeah. I'm going to put your YouTube channel banner up there.
Thank you.
So Miss Sunrise Dawn was wanting to know, and for those of you who aren't, get your butts over there, show some love to Joey, and make sure you're subscribing to his channel. Let's see. Taking a look here at some of the comments. The boys on track is a crazy case. Yeah, we're gonna. If you've got any of them and you want to, you have an idea you want us to look into, by all means, email me. And definitely, we're always open to new cases, new information, things like that. There's some question about the circumstances surrounding the ambush of the Pussers, and Pauline's body was exhumed back in February for the autopsy. That's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. Had you?
I had not heard about that. No, this is recent. February, just recent.
I'm gonna look it up right now and see. Yeah, this is crazy that
Buford Pusser had several attempts on his life. One that brings back to me that I read a little bit about is let's see, I think it's here. Let me find it. I was just looking at it. It says Pusser survived several assassination attempts. On February 1st, 1966, Louise Hathcock attempted to kill Pusser during an on-site investigation of a robbery complaint at the Shamrock Motel. Hathcock fired on Pusser with a concealed .38 pistol. Pusser returned fire and killed Hathcock on January 2nd, 1967. Pusser was shot 3 times by an unidentified gunman. So this guy, not only was he big, not only was he a wrecking machine, he lived through being shot 3 times.
Yeah.
So
let me tell you that ain't
real
fun.
deal.
I can tell you that personally, that is not a fun thing. It's it's not good. And he got it 3 times. So I've always found it interesting how you can have a person that takes a round through the hand and dies.
Yeah.
Take somebody else, take 3 rounds to the chest. Good to go.
Yeah.
So
it only takes one though in the right place, hit the right organ, and it could be over. So
let's see here. All right, folks. So here's what I got on it. Pauline Pusser remains returned to gravesite. This is from WBBJ Eyewitness News. The remains of Pauline Pusser. I'll go ahead and put this up so everybody can see it. But there we go. The remains of Pauline Pusser have been returned to her gravesite at the Adamsville Cemetery. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation confirms the remains were re-entered over the weekend. This comes after her remains were exhumed from the cemetery on February 8th, and this is this year. Wow. So yeah, it's this is April 8th is when they re-entered her remains. Following a recent tip and discovery that an autopsy was never performed. That's insane.
Yeah.
We reached out to TBI for the results of the examination. However, no further details were confirmed. TBI stated that the investigation remains active and ongoing. Pauline Pusser, who was killed on August 12th, 1967, was the wife of former McNair County Sheriff Buford Pusser. That's just, how in the world does the wife of the sheriff get murdered and they don't say, they don't do an autopsy on it?
Well, it's funny, who do you think ordered this? Do you think there's any family members in there that are still around that are seeking justice, or is this somebody that's just
it says it was on leads or tips that she had been she an autopsy had never been performed on her. So that just tells me that it could be anybody. You know how it works with the internet now. There are people who have no connection to a story that are more deeply involved with the story itself than the family members who are directly affected by it. So
it'd be nice to find out the truth. I mean, that's wild, but I don't find that hard to believe back in those days. I know he was a sheriff, but stuff like that existed. People don't realize that's the kind of power someone in those small towns had. No autopsy, just bury the body. I mean, and he was sheriff and they could do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? So that goes to show you that the Deep South was a whole different ball game compared to some of these bigger cities.
Well, I mean, and that was one of the things that folks were finding when they decided they were going to try to travel down south and, move into these southern communities. It isn't quite as all peaches and cream as they portray it. Right. These communities are very tight knit, and a lot of people who are outsiders often are not really welcomed in that well. So it give you a good idea. We were down in southeastern Kentucky, heading down to our family's property down there, and this is literally, you take I-75 south. Once you get to Lexington, you jump on 64, take that east, and then you're going to jump off the Mountain Parkway, and you're going to go about 35 miles from there. That's how deep into eastern Kentucky you're going. And we're down there. We had our niece with us, and our niece, she's deciding that she's about 14 years old at the time. And she says, she's just waving at everybody, just hollering out, "How you doing?" And I stopped the car. I looked at her. I said, "What's wrong with you?" And she said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Didn't you realize that the way that these people were looking at you, they don't care who you are. They don't care that you're saying hello. They don't want nothing to do with you. You're some fancy girl driving around in a rental car in their area, and you're deciding to make a show of yourself. They don't appreciate that real well." I've walked into the diner there, and my whole family runs them hills down there. And I walked in the diner in the downtown. It's literally a gas station, a diner, and a bank. And I walked in, and people just look at me like, "Who the hell are you? And who do you think you are?"
Right.
That's not it's not the kind of area you just jump into and suddenly, "I'm here, deal with me." They don't play that game.
Yeah.
So,
very true.
I mean, how many FBI agents have gone down into the South doing investigations never to be found again?
Yeah, it's true. It's
those people don't care. It's literally like the folks who do the the moonshine investigations down there. They're not stupid. If they're going to go in and raid a still site, they're going in with a full SWAT team, because you're going up against a bunch of hillbillies that don't care. You're taking their lifeline away from them. There's no jobs down there.
Nope.
I remember when I got out of the Army and I got the offer to go work with the Kentucky State Police. And the offer was that I was going to be on a stretch of highway going through the area where my family's property is. I was going to be the only trooper in a 50 square mile area.
Ooh.
In a major drug pipeline.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not happening. Now, Chad would take that in a heartbeat, because
that's right, Poe. That's right, Poe. That's right.
Yeah, well, man's got to eat, man's got to earn. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Kirkland Reds. There was actually a town in Tennessee where World War II veterans had to actually fight against the sheriff shortly after the war. I am not surprised. I can tell you this, some of the stuff my dad sent home from Vietnam in parts and rebuilt when he got back home what those guys were literally bringing home with them, you didn't want nothing to do with.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I kind of miss the older generation, the great uncles, and the stories and the things that they can do with stuff like that coming from war, or just the things, the simple thing, or the remedies. Your great grandmother, how to go fix a cold, or how to sweat out a fever. It's amazing, simple stuff that some of it still does work. And with all this fancy medicine, which I'm grateful for, and the way technology is, but sometimes it's you gotta just stop and reset and just remember the simple basic things of life. And anybody can change. We all can change for the better. You gotta first. It's like anybody. It's like if you're an alcoholic, you gotta want to not be an alcoholic to change. If you're a drug addict, you gotta want to not be an addict no more to change. People can change. There are people that are just born to not be nice people, and that's just them. And those. Well, my grandfather used to tell me, a bad seed. I shot a bad seed. So
it happens.
I'm sending a private message to the two of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you play instruments? You play guitars? I see the nice guitars on the back there.
Yeah, I made those.
Nice.
Yeah, there's one of them. The one up top is an Explorer. It's a standard Gibson style Explorer, and the one underneath of it is a Telecaster. I made both of those. That's one of the things I like to do on the side is doing custom guitars and stuff. So let's see. Yeah,
you want to address anything with the chat or?
Yeah, I mean, like OG Drips, man. I understand we tolerate quite a bit, but that goes just a little too far, bud. With that, please,
we all entitled to our opinions, and we expect that. But come on, we're all adults here. It's not a nice word. It's the way that a lot of people use it, and just be professional.
I was talking with a former Navy SEAL the other day, and we were talking about, a lot of people don't realize just how close we are to World War III at this time.
Yeah.
China and India are ready to go to blows over boundary disputes. And I know it's been going on for 50 years, but it's really starting to ramp up now.
Yeah.
So he and I were talking about if something like that happens and you have the breakdown of society, how many people aren't going to be able to survive it?
Right.
If that's what happens, I can literally, my first thing is I'm taking my family and we're going up into northern Michigan, and we're going way out in the middle of nowhere where some of my wife's family lives, and we can sustain up there pretty well without any problems. But a lot of people live in cities, they live in the towns and stuff like that, and they have no idea what it takes to be able to feed yourself.
Right.
Let's see here.
I got a good question.
I am screwed, Poe.
Yeah.
How close do you think we are with certain areas and certain parts of the United States where small police departments are closing up because of funding, or they just can't? It's happening more and more in a lot of smaller places. How far do you think we are from law enforcement being where it's going to be the military is going to be our law enforcement? Do you think in your lifetime this will happen?
There's been rumors for decades that the federal government's been pushing for that with the constant regulation, the federal government stepping in and trying to dictate to police departments, trying to push federal law on them. But one of what's really interesting is that as they try to do those things, the public pushback is so strong because people like having their local officers. They like having an officer Chad who knows everybody in town, knows, hey, I heard your kid was sick. How they doing? Those kinds of things. People like that. They like that personal touch. And so every time that it starts moving more towards the way of getting rid of localized law enforcement and becoming a national police kind of state, the public kickback so bad, you'll see things like the cops grant, those different kinds of things like Bill Clinton brought in, and it's all to start building back these police departments. But this defund the police thing that happened has literally taken more assets away from law enforcement than any other movement has done. I would say it wouldn't be within the next 10 to 15 years, I could see something like that happening.
I was just
Hey,
curious.
Poe, Detroit by Dark is in the chat. He's one of the good guys, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just saw him come in here. Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the Constitution, if I remember correctly, and I'm not a constitutionalist, I am certainly not a sovereign citizen. But one of the things I remember is I believe that the sheriff's department sheriffs are the only law enforcement body that's actually mentioned in the Constitution. And so that's that's part of our constitutional rights here in this country. Let's see here. Doug, I remember seeing KKK with torches in Columbus, Mississippi at night while driving down the road in the late 60s. Remember being scared. I got one for you too, Doug. I remember in the 70s as a child in Middletown, Ohio, heading home with my dad, huge rally at one of the city parks out in the middle of nowhere. And there was this big rally going on. And I remember asking my dad, and my dad's like, oh, it says F and Ku Klux Klan people. So that was in the 70s. They were that open and out with everything. Let's see. I'm trying to read some of these other comments, make sure we're good on them.
What was the year? So with the Detroit riots and Chicago riots, was that the 68 or 69 riots?
Ooh, let me see. 68.
Yeah, 68.
Yeah, we had our own here in Detroit back during that time as well, and that also moved towards a big change in how law enforcement has worked. All these different riots, and I'll be 100% honest. The cops back then were absolutely brutal. They were racist. They did a lot of things they shouldn't have done. One of the big riots was over. They raided a club that was a gay club in one city, and they literally beat the crap out of people. I think one person actually got beaten to death, and that caused huge riots throughout a city. So, I mean, back then, police were nothing more than thugs, the way that they handled things.
Just to make it very interesting on this one, I'm going to tell you something that I know for a fact. Cook County Sheriff's Department used to have a policy. They would ask two main questions. Can you write paperwork or can you brawl? If you were a brawler, the people that did the paperwork, and if you weren't book smart, don't worry about your score. That was taken care of. You just show up and take your test. But if you were a brawler, you were a brawler, and then the people that were smart took care of the paperwork to cover up everything. And they lived under that for many, many years under Sheriff Elrod. For many years, that was the policy.
Wow.
So,
well, I mean, there's you got to look them up. They've scrubbed the web of them pretty good, but there were cities even up here in Michigan that had the sign that said all are welcome, but don't let the sun set on your black behind.
Yeah.
And that was a real thing. And I'm glad to see that a lot of that has gone to the wayside now. And people are actually fighting back against that kind of discrimination. Because the thing is, when you have something like that, it can easily swing either way.
Right.
And that's Tennessee Treasure Finder. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. And I also saw a couple of people saying that they went over and they subbed to your channel, Joey.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that very much.
But talking to this this former Navy SEAL, we were talking about, if these things happen, and I'm like, have you done anything to prepare for it, or he goes, nope. And I go, really? He goes, I got enough neighbors that do that stuff. It's going to come down to one or two things. They're either going to give it to me to help protect them, or I'm going to take it from them.
Right.
So, and a lot of folks, they look at like the Walking Dead and stuff like that, how everybody's going to build this big community. First few months of something like that, it's absolutely going to be chaos, and it's going to be people taking advantage of other people, and you need to be prepared for it. They say the first 3 months are the biggest tell of how things are going.
Right.
In my small town, there are mostly loggers, commercial fishermen. Yeah, rough town, kind of a throwback. Took me a few years to get accepted by the community. That's in pretty much any small town. The South is worse in a lot of ways than some of the northern, because after the Civil War, you had a lot of Northerners were going down there and taking advantage of these Southern communities, the carpetbaggers, the government people. Those things kind of Was the case discussed here in a sundown town? This is the first time I've talked about it on here, I can tell you that. But so for a long time you had people that were literally coming down legally and taking advantage of people in the South. That's why the South became so closed ranks, and they're suspect of anybody that's from the North coming down into their communities, and that's why it can get pretty hard for people trying to move in there. So
they don't like Yankees.
Yeah, and it's an interesting world, but we're a huge country, so you're going to have people from all over who have different beliefs and different structural systems to them.
Now, I can't swear this is a fact, but I heard just as of within the last 10 years, some towns in Alabama might still have segregation. I don't know if that was a rumor or someone saying
that's going to be a rumor. I've got, I've been down in Alabama and I've seen a lot of stuff down there, but a lot of the stuff that you see isn't actual segregation. It's showing you what it was like back in those days.
Right.
So you'd have, as a matter of fact, my sister posted a picture from somewhere down there where they literally had, it was a sign for the restroom, and they had one that said whites only. And then the other side, so that's, a lot of it is just showing you how things were back in the day, but it's not going on like it used to. And Tommy's got, the scariest phrase ever. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah, that is a scary phrase. Yeah.
Here to help separate you from your money and your possessions. Different regions have different standards. Mountain societies have similarities, whether they are in West Virginia or Afghanistan. Absolutely. You're so isolated from the rest of your country. You become so dependent within your actual community that you're going to be very suspicious of anybody from outside of it.
Yeah.
True.
Let's see. I'm just trying to read through some of these comments here. Chad, you're being awful loud tonight. What's going on with you?
Oh, I know. No, I'm enjoying reading the comments. There's we got everyone from Yale to jail in the comments, guys.
There you go. Yeah. And that's, folks, this is a open format where, you got comments, go ahead, throw them in there. We're willing to talk about a lot of things. If you got questions, throw them in there. So, we've been talking a lot about the Southern mindset and Southern mentality. That all goes into play when you have Buford Pusser comes back to his home area. Right. He was, he'd been in the Marine Corps. He came out because he had asthma, moved to Chicago where he met his wife, and decided to head back to Tennessee. And what he found was the area he'd grown up in pretty much was a ghost town now. And the only things she had going on were being run by two very dangerous and very hardcore syndicates that were running all of the illegal actions down there, while you had all law enforcement that was around that area seemed to be tied into it as well and in the pockets of them. So his first thing was he's going to make a difference. He went in there and started busting things up, and like Joey was saying, didn't carry a firearm. Took a big old piece of wood that he got from the closed wood mill that was down there, and just went in and literally started busting places apart. And that's what made him okay, Bill. And that's actually what started making him famous, was the fact that he was willing to go in and do what he had to do. Let's see here. Adam, when you look at urban fear videos, I can tell like you were on the verge of collapse, but life in those cities is more stable and prosperous than you think. It is, until you no longer have the supply chain going into those communities. Yeah. When you don't have the trucks bringing in the food, when you don't have the trucks bringing in the bottled water, when the electricity goes out, you don't have any area to grow food. You don't have any place to actually hunt and collect food. Closest you're going to have is going into the river system, if you have one nearby. Pretty much every major city in the United States became a major city because they were on the river. That was your supply chain. When you don't have any of those common denominators going into it, that's when things start falling apart. There's going to be, watch if something like that happens. Well, just look at any time there's a huge storm that comes into an area. There's suddenly a mass flight of people from the intense urban areas trying to get out of there and get to more rural areas where they feel they're going to be safer. Yeah. So and it all works great. But the fact is that once your supply chain, once the semis aren't coming in there, you can't get your Amazon deliveries, you can't get internet, you can't get electricity, people start freaking out, and that's when things start going to crap. Let's see. Detroit Dark City old joke. You know you're old when you watch Walking Tall and you side with the sheriff. There you go.
You know, you could punch up if you just put in the browser for Google Buford Pusser Museum. It shows a bunch of pictures. There actually is a museum now for him that you could see.
Yeah, it was his former home, wasn't it?
I believe it was, yes.
And Adamsville, Tennessee. Let's see. I'm gonna try to find some pictures here. They actually have a website for it, the Sheriff Pusser Home and Museum.
Yep.
Let's see here. Just trying to find some photos of it, because you know how these things are. They're mostly about making money off stuff. Let's see. I'll just go to the images here. Wow, it looks like they actually have his car.
Yes, I saw that one. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. What kind of car was that?
I don't remember. Let me see. Let's see if I get a look at it here.
Is it me, or does that look like a Corvette?
What is that, a Lincoln?
That one's either probably a Lincoln. Yeah, you're probably right.
It looks like a Lincoln on the other side there, but the car that's all dismantled, it looks like a two-seater.
I'm not sure what it was. I'm sure it says somewhere here in the storyline. Yeah, Buford Pusser's Home and Museum. View all posts.
Yep, it was a Corvette.
It was a Corvette. Interesting. Yep. So the man carried a walking stick, 6'6", two-seater Corvette. Interesting.
See, I don't understand how he was doing that. You'd have. I got a friend who's got a Corvette, and you have to shoehorn me in and out of that car. It's not exactly a fun situation. Now, a lot of these pictures don't get big enough that we can actually put them up here. But the thing is that they've actually opened up his home. They've got a lot of the memorabilia and things like that you can go there and see. That's kind of crazy. He was driving a Corvette. Now, that kind of plays against the whole I'm a local kind of down home kind of guy
right
thing, that you're driving around in, Western Tennessee in a Corvette.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I like that other car, though. I wish I had that other car. I like that other one.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Corvette was probably the wife's car.
There you go. Adam Carmona, preppers will face all sorts of political problems in their new society. Politics form spontaneously. That they do, but the thing is you got to know who the preppers are. A lot of these preppers, you see them on TV and stuff like that, but your actual preppers, they don't make it very public. People don't know that they are preppers. So nowadays you can start prepping by buying these kits that are good for 25 years, and they have like 3 months worth of food in them. All you have to do is add water. It's very easy to stack up 100 of those in your basement. Nobody even know it's there. So everybody say howdy to Verna Corton. Verna has her own YouTube channel. She's out of the Philippines. Really nice person, puts out some really entertaining comment there. Nice to see you back, Verna.
Thank you for being here.
And they're saying that the other car is a 64 Riviera.
Okay.
But you know better than I do, Chief. That's honestly, some of those, I can tell you what a Chevelle looks like. I can tell you what a Dodge Charger looks like, a Challenger, but you start getting into some of those others.
Buick was the Riviera. Was it a Buick? Yeah, Buick line. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. There's a Buick. Yeah, Buick Riviera, tri-butter instead of a shoehorn. Let me tell you, if you ever seen the video of Johnny Cash getting into his into his Ferrari?
No.
I'm gonna see if I can pull that up real quick.
And I like Johnny Cash. I was not a big fan of country and western, but I like Johnny Cash.
It's okay. I think I found it here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this will give you an idea. This is how I felt when I was getting in and out of my buddy's Corvette. And the thing is, I've ridden in Lamborghinis and they haven't been this uncomfortable. But that Corvette, wow.
It's easy to get in and out of. Oh, that is very.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me?
I can understand that. Yeah,
Wow.
Here's a
Think I'll
Oh,
pass
that'd
on
give
that
you an
one.
idea.
Beautiful. Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
Wow.
That's about how I felt trying to get out of my buddy's Corvette. That was crazy.
You're a big truck guy. You're a big old truck guy, I believe. You don't fit well in a car, do you?
Matter of fact, my I had a F-250 for a long time with a big diesel in it, and then my last I've got a Ranger now with the extended cab, because otherwise ain't no way I'm sitting in that thing.
Yeah.
But
Comfortable.
had an 85 F-150, and I loved that thing. It was awesome. It just, you didn't pass a gas station with it.
Yeah.
It was insane with it. Let's see. I was able to sit in the car built one piece at a time. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's see. Joining super late. Yeah, we know Electric Boogaloo, and Chad might remember Electric Boogaloo is out of Australia.
Yep.
Watch the 2-speed. Thank you for being here, Electric Boogaloo. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things came out of the down south. I mean, if you want to get an idea about how the South is, just start watching some of those Oprah rental movies, Coal Miner's Daughter, things like that. They're going to show you some insane ways that they live down south. I mean, you got to remember, they were literally cut off from most of society. My mother was born in a coal mining camp.
Nice.
Literally a tent town that you were paid in what were called chits, or company money. You didn't get actual cash. So when they paid you, you had to go to the company store where you turned in their money for the products that you wanted. But it's like they would charge you 3 times what it would cost to go to a store if they'd given you regular money. So that way the company made sure that you were locked in with them and that they never actually lost money on things. So yeah, believe me, down south and the way things are down there, it's a whole lot different than a lot of people ever think.
Yes, it is.
Let's see. And I have a 97 F350 7.3. Those are good motors. I like those. I had the 6.0, had to do the EGR delete. Went with a coolant filtration system because those the 6.0s had a real bad problem. They'd eat their own intake systems. Yeah. Because they had an EGR delete system. EGR delete is an exhaust gas return system. So that would superheat everything in there, and it would literally, they would eat their own intake systems and all that. So I had to go in and remove that, put in a coolant filtration system, because you get a lot of, due to the overheating, you'd get a lot of shavings, things like that into the coolant system. It could tear it all up. But, and then I found I was going from like 7 to 10 miles per 7 to 10 miles per gallon with it. Once I did the changes to it, I was up to 15 and 18.
Nice.
So great job, Ford, with that design.
Yes.
Let's see.
I got an interesting question for you, John.
Yeah.
Did you carry a different off-duty weapon versus your duty weapon?
No.
I
carried the 45 caliber Glock.
Okay.
So, but I'll be honest with you. I was the kind that, for the most part, unless my department required it, most of the time I didn't carry off duty.
No.
I always thought that there was if you got into a situation in this day and age and you had to use it, you're never going to come out unscathed.
No, you're right.
Oh, you're always going to be on the wrong side with it. Let's see. Shannon Sharp, the professional football player, lived in a house with no indoor plumbing in the 1980s. That is what the South was like. Well, I can tell you that to this day, I have family that live in Eastern Kentucky that don't have indoor plumbing. They have outhouses. Wow. They have a pump system to a well. And I even know a couple that don't even have electricity. Now they're older. They're in their 70s and 80s, but they still use the old oil lamps in the house. Yeah. So, and a lot of people are just like, how does that happen? Well, literally, you go to our family property down there, you've got to walk 5 miles up an old creek to get up to where their house is at. They literally grow or kill everything that they eat. Yeah. There's no outside need for anything. Let's see.
Interesting dishes made from shooting some animals out there. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to have, I get friends call me all, during the deer season, want me to help them process out their deer, things like that. I haven't hunted in years because I haven't had to. Yeah. There's just, me personally, I don't feel that if I don't need it, why am I going to do it? Yeah. So let's see, Amber Vanassi. I heard stories about that, and some of the people could get out because they were in. I don't know what you're talking about, Amber. I thought they had something to do with Southern living.
I think, yeah, I think she means, and I could be wrong, but I think she means with the company towns, with the coal miners, that you're in debt to the coal mine. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah. Okay, yeah, then I understand. Yeah, that was the whole design of it. Was if you had to go to the doctor, the company charged you for that. And basically what they did was a revolving credit line through it. And they ended up getting these people so far in debt they could never leave the company.
Yeah.
And what was even scarier was they're going along just fine. The men who are going down in the mine are all coming out 10 years later with black lung, and then the company shuts down and they
Right.
have nothing to show for it.
You know, they made a movie about a lady that was lost to her first husband in the mines, and it tore her up. They made a movie. I don't know how Hollywood it was, but she wound up really educating herself. Came back and married the owner of the mine. Destroyed him every
Wow.
possible way she could, and just to get for the justice of her the love of her life. And
Yeah, don't get them Southern mamas mad, buddy. Do not. Let's see. There you go. Who was more courageous, Buford Pusser facing down the mob or Stuttering John facing down Morton Downey Jr.? Did they meet?
Yeah. John interviewed him when he was working for Howard Stern, and John was always put with a bunch of really hard questions to ask these people, which he got punched around quite a bit. He sued Sharon Stone for $100,000 and won because I think one of her bodyguards hit John. So John was always on some kind of all about money. He would show up at work in a taxi and call the interns and say, "I left my wallet at home, pay the taxi." He was just not a nice guy. He was
wow.
Yeah, he was pretty much a dirtbag. So.
And John Chemowski's that song 16 tons by Ernie Ford, that was about the coal mines and how they were. Bushfire Blonde, what the heck, mines here are really good to the employees. And Bushfire Blonde is from Australia, and I've seen a lot of content about the mines out there. You got people live in like Sydney, Melbourne, places like that. You have an entire airline that does nothing but take people from the major cities out to this one mining town in the middle of nowhere. And they go in, they work for a few days, make their money, and then they go back to the big city where their family is.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is really sad is that when companies pull out of company towns, it devastates the area economically. Yeah, there's a city called Royalton, Kentucky, that my father was actually born in. And when we went down there back in the mid 80s, it was literally a ghost town because all the mining had closed up.
I got one for food for thought for you to think on this one, John.
Good.
So we took the land away from all the Indians,
Mm-hmm.
and they sat for hundreds of years waiting patiently to build casinos to take all the people that took their land away from money and become the richest people around in the United States.
It just it comes full circle. You know, the sad thing is how many of them had to give up their lives to for that to happen.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So let me get back to here to this, make sure we're not missing anything. And Bushfire Blonde, Western Australia, 120K plus annual. That's pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And Andrew, and yeah, that's the modern equivalent of what the coal mining companies were doing.
Yeah.
And Sir Crepitus is correct about that as well. Detroit, Pittsburgh, those cities, literally when the auto companies and the steel companies moved out, they left these cities just rampage. You look at Flint, Michigan, what happened with that? There was, what was that movie? Roger and Me.
Yep.
That was a really good example of how those things happen. Let's see. Yep. 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Yep. And that's, let's see. Yeah. So Andrew's not far from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So you know exactly how that is. Yeah. What's crazy is the city that I retired from has a huge steel mill. And then they have the Detroit Edison electric plant. And then they have this island that's part of the steel company as well. It's called Zug Island. The steel mill shut down. They left only one small operation going. The electric plant shut down. People thought the city was going to just dry up and die. because they didn't have that tax income coming in. Then we started getting the dispensaries moved in because they made it legal here in Michigan for recreational medical. They're making more money off the taxes from the dispensaries than they were from the steel mill and the electric plant. So
when does it happen, John? When does the federal government step in now? Because each state individually has their own dispensaries. Some have easier laws because it's state run. What happens when the federal government says, no, we're going to take it all away from you?
Yeah, that's the thing is that there's a movement going on now within the federal government where a lot of people are trying to make it legal nationally.
You think it'll happen?
One of the big problems you've got with the dispensaries and all that in a lot of states, especially like here in Michigan, is they've made it so expensive that you can't be just a regular person that lives here in Michigan and start one up. You've got to be someone who's got millions of dollars in your pockets to begin with. A lot of people are coming in from out of state and they're opening these dispensaries and their own grow operations and things like that, because I don't have the money. I told the wife when it first came out, man, we should do something about trying to get into this. Wife's like, are you kidding me? But literally I've watched people, they're millionaires and now they're worth even more.
Yeah.
And, because they've made it to the point where the average person can't do it. I think that federalizing it and taking a lot of the control out of these states and how that they're, overpricing things so that the average person can't do it would be a great thing for it.
Yeah.
And there's a movement going on now where they're trying to do that. So I'd like to see that come in. Once you start federalizing it, then these companies can't just turn around and say, well, you can't be hired because you do that. You can't do it if you drink. So, it's literally you're allowing people to discriminate based on someone's life choices.
That's true.
Mischief's going to be hearing that song for the rest of the night. Let's see here.
Chad, I heard a rumor the other day. Someone said you were pulled.
Wait.
You just cut out, Joey. Joey, you went silent.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Someone was saying about how you suspect for having the name Clearwater Chad and not living in Clearwater, and I said I can't believe it that they're even saying that statement.
That's true. Yeah, I'm from Buffalo.
That's it. They're like, is he from Clearwater? I go, what does that have to do with it?
I know, right? Yeah, we'll have Frank Amadeo sue him.
Well, they don't want to meet Frank Amadeo. He's a great guy.
No.
Yeah. All right. So getting back on topic with this, though, I mean, you have someone comes in, they try to do the right thing.
Right.
And how we, like the thumbnail says, the good guys don't always win.
No.
Buford Pusser was starting to make great inroads in how he was doing things. He was knocking down the human trafficking, the sex trafficking that was going on in the area, the narcotics, the gambling, things like that. Just when you think things are starting to get to the point where it's getting to normality, he ends up dying in a single car accident. Right. Folks, you want to be the good guy. You want to be the person doing the right thing. You have to be prepared for the fact that this can happen to you.
Right.
So,
firm believer, if you fight fire with fire, be prepared for fire to come at you. If you take, if you want to put out harm on somebody, never think that the harm will come back to you. It's your choices you make. I think corruption is always going to be there until they can fix the corruption in politics. As long as someone's willing to take an envelope and someone's to bend the rules for that illegal money, you're never going to stop corruption. You're never going to stop it. It's just never going to happen.
And Mary Lee has it right. Buffalo Chad just doesn't have the same ring.
That's correct.
And Aaron from growing up in Scientology is the one that came up with the name Clearwater Chad. Just so
I love it.
Yeah.
Great choice.
I like that. If you dig too deep, you'll disturb the lizard people. I thought it was the crab people. So
there's all kinds of people. There's people living inside the moon. There's people everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Earth is flat.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's confirmed.
We have a magnetic barrier that keeps us from going off the ends of it. So, Did you guys see that the SpaceX thing?
No, I haven't. Not lately.
They had a launch, and it's their big, heaviest rocket. It's like the heaviest rocket that's ever been used, and they were doing a relaunch of it, sending something up to, I think, the ISS. The main portion of it separates from the capsule portion that continued on, came back. Now, I've always thought it was crazy that they could actually bring these things and land them straight up and down, just like, just come in and boom, and it just lands, no damage to it or anything. Now they've been able to bring it back, and they got these arms on the tower that literally come together and caught it as it was landing. I was just like, are you kidding me? I'll see if I can bring that up. But I mean, we are literally living in the future.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, the booster catch. I mean, this stuff is it's insane to me. Let's see. We'll go with, I'm trying to find one that's not going to hit me for copyright infringement. Everybody thinks that they own every second of TV that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one looks good. I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see this, but this is the literal landing and catch of it. This is stuff that we watched as kids that should have been happening by now.
Yes.
Here it is coming in.
Landing burn, 13 ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now
Wow.
This is absolutely insane.
I mean, is that insane or what?
That was insane. Pretty insane.
It was. I never seen anything like that.
You guys have seen the landings where they literally come in and just the rockets come on and it lands straight up and down. Now they've got it to the point, because that thing's so heavy, that they can literally catch it and make it easier to move it around. They don't have to land it on a barge or on a man-made island off the coast. They can literally catch it where they launched it from.
Right.
That's and yet look at these states and the federal government doing everything they can do to try to stop SpaceX from operating just because they don't like Elon Musk's political viewpoints. Yeah. This launch today, if I understand, this launch that was with that was specifically to go up and bring astronauts back from the ISS who've been trapped up there because the Boeing capsule couldn't work.
Right. What's your thoughts on Elon Musk? I think he's a fascinating person. I think
he is someone that, first off, he's an unrecognized person who's on the autism spectrum.
No.
I think when you hear him talk, you watch his interpersonal reactions, things like that. But I think he's literally one of the smartest people that there are.
I agree.
I think he has done more to advance our manufacturing processes in this country and in the world than anyone has before him.
Right.
I know there's a lot of problems coming out with the Tesla cars now.
Yeah.
People are starting to find a lot of them. And I know that hurts you, Chad, because, you're an all in or not electric.
Well, my thoughts on that is he does make electric cars. They do have some problems, but those problems will be solved when those factories become pro-union, Poe and Joey.
I'm all for union. I grew up in a green union place, so I'm all for union. So
yeah. I'm a bit, I love the fact that Elon is making the strides that he is.
Right.
I think it's amazing. What I think is really sad is that it used to be when you looked at technology and you looked at the advancement in space travel, you looked to NASA. Everyone in the world did that. And then starting with Obama, who started cutting the funding to NASA, then you had to have these private companies step up and start taking on the role that our government wasn't doing. Yeah. And then they started, we want to make sure that people from this country or this group all get to feel like they're part of NASA. How about instead of that, we just focus on what NASA's supposed to do? Get people to space alive and get them back. And stop worrying about all the other stuff. When you start worrying about that and you start putting money into those things, you don't have the money for the safety systems like you used to. And we've got to have someone like Elon doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally talking about a guy that when he was watching the manufacturing process for the Tesla vehicles, grabbed a Hot Wheels car and said, why can't we build them the way they build Hot Wheels cars? And they literally built a whole new system, the only one like it in the world, where they make the majority of the chassis and the body from one solid piece or from one injected molded piece of aluminum.
Right.
You know,
Very interesting. Yeah, like I said, I agree with you. One of the smartest, probably one of these top smartest people in the world. I'm having trouble trying to find out. Maybe you guys can help me for a new title. How do I make a title out of 3 names to make it one good word? The 3 words would be El Horrible, Tukey, Rocco. How do I make a good title of a show?
I don't know, Chad. El
El
Horrible,
Tukey, and Rocco. Those
Yeah,
combined, those 3.
Okay, we'll have to think about that. I don't know.
Something very catchy.
What kind of what
It's
kind
going
of
to be like
shows are you going to be
it's
doing?
going to be. You're familiar with Shuli's network, correct? And how they're they want to do a show to do it the way they do it. They got a great name called the Uncle Rico Show, and
Right. Well, you could use Baracha or Baracho, which is Spanish for drunk, and do the Tres Brachos, the 3
El
drunk.
Replay.
You know, I mean, yeah, we'll think about it, and I'll start coming up with some different. Let's see, El Toro, El Proco. I'm looking at what some of the folks are saying in the comments here. The liar, the geek, and the cop.
I think that person's guilty of crimes himself.
Well, here's the thing,
Okay, Cal, thank you, but that's not for our show.
The geek. I'm assuming the liar.
Well, I'll let you guys decide that. Joe, you tap your microphone again. You went out again.
How's that better?
There you go. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
Define a liar. Define a liar. A liar, an habitual liar, because usually someone that chases you so much about being lying must have told a lot of lies.
Check Chad's hard drive.
Yeah, they say that about everyone.
Yeah. They're just trying to confess is all they're trying to do. They're doing it because you're here, John. They really need help and they're confessing their sins.
That's
There you
right.
go. El Succo Puke.
I like that one. Now that one I like. I'm gonna duly note that one real quick here.
I don't even know what I don't know what El Proco means.
Well, El Uribe is a character that comes out on Saturdays. It's the great Rocco, who is Tukey, who invented Tukey, who is the famous puppet on the Dabbleverse, and
Oh, okay.
Rocco's all about the truth these days, so we're going to give him some truth of his own. So we're going to create this show, but we got to come up with the name. It's got to be with those are who he is, Alpha Replay / Tukey / Rocco, and it's going to be called the Uncle and a name under, and he's pleading for me not to go to war with him, so he don't want a war with me, but it's too late. We're past all that. So
it's the king of all diffs. Joey is not a liar. He's a loudmouth and a blowhard.
Yeah, I'm all that too. Yes, thank you.
You know what? Here's the thing. With someone who is a loudmouth and a blowhard, you generally never worry about where you stand with them.
No, there's only one way. I mean, I'm a pretty cut straight across the board kind of guy, even keel kind of guy. I love hard. I cherish friendships very hard. I'm loyal, and I will protect my family at all costs, at any way, any corner I can do it. So
that's me in a nutshell there. I mean, my loyalties are my loyalties. You've really got to break my trust to make me not be loyal to you if you're a friend. And I don't mess with my family. Let's see.
Yeah, all good values.
I thought cops have a natural lie detector. Hey, that's why we investigate things, because if something smells wrong, you look into it deeper. But otherwise, you get used to it as a cop. You're lied to every day of the week, every moment of your life. When you're in that uniform, people are lying to you, and that's the honest truth, because people will lie. Let's see. And they're saying that's all a lie too. Let's see. Goodness, people came to your house.
To my home?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You hid like a coward from the dude who. No, that's not true. Listen, these guys, a guy like K-Kel, I promise you, will never sit down with you and come in your face and tell you I'm the guy that says all those things. Because I've already proven it with 2 or 3 guys at these events. They sat right next to me, changed their names, and were afraid to say they're the guys that are saying all the nasty things about my wife. So you know what, K-Cal, we're not going to do this on Poe on the Go's channel. We take this to my
Tap your microphone.
where you see the real side of me. You don't want none of this. I told you guys that before. Just try to be respectful and just do my part. Don't involve this man in what you feel towards me. So that's all I ask. Be respectful. You know?
I just can't wait till DabbleCon gets to Detroit so we can actually get out there and meet some of these people. Yeah.
You got
I'm disappointed.
Carl's a good guy. So
I'm disappointed that event in Detroit sold out.
yeah, it went pretty quick. Carl's a pretty popular guy.
Really?
He's a good guy. Carl Heberger.
It's already been sold out.
First week. I think it went out the first week this time.
See, I didn't even know when they were bringing it to Detroit. I was trying to figure out when they were going to bring it to Detroit. So any way you can get hold of them, see if we can get like a press pass or something.
I'm going to be talking to Carl probably tomorrow. So
because I left that I requested off just in case we did go down there. So
I'll give you guys both after I speak with Carl tomorrow more of an answer for that. So because there's a lot of
I saw a picture of Sir Crepitus without a shirt on once. You should see all the whip marks on that guy's back. That wife of his, boy, she runs that roost hard on him. Let's see.
He's a good
guy. You've been on the internet for over a year.
He's not lying about that. We're just when we think we got it fixed. We run into some. I don't know. Yep. I got another new system here. This mic was given to me by the great Casey Armstrong, who was a great guy and was his backup mic. And I replaced the cords. I've done everything I possibly can. Sound cards. I don't have an answer for it anymore. I've had professional people come and look at it. I've had Joe, the producer, look at it, go through everything. It's I don't know. It's just called me that sometimes I'm an unlucky guy. That's all I can say.
Chad, how's that mic that I gave you doing?
Oh, I couldn't hook it up because it was missing the one. What do you call it? One of the cords.
Okay. Well, you get to Walmart, get it.
All right.
Or Walmart or Amazon. So, all right. Well, we're going to cut it off here because I know Chad's got to drop at 9:30. So let me look here real quick. Let's see. All right. Well, it looks like the Shuley Network is live. They've been live for 6 hours now. So if you guys want to get over there and take a look and start getting your first sight into the Dabbleverse and what's going on with Stuttering John and all that stuff over there. Chad, any closing thoughts for you?
No, this was a lot of fun. I really love these Sunday nights with Joey C and you, Poe.
I really do. I enjoyed this. I was, like I said, I didn't know if I was going to have any electricity because the original, they sent out the notifications to us saying at best it would be Thursday for my area. And an hour after that notice, lights came on and internet was still down and it came on today. So I was happy. So,
and Kirkland wants to know, Chad, are you going live?
Probably not tonight. I got something I got to do. I got to run an errand in a few minutes.
Okay. So, all right, folks. Well, thank you for joining us. As always, we start off on one topic. We go 5 million different directions from there because we're just having a good time here. We're bringing stuff up. We're letting you, hopefully teaching you about stuff and letting you know that there's a different world out there than most of us see from inside of our homes watching on the internet. As always, thank you for every moment that you spend with us. It's time you're never going to get back. Hopefully you found it entertaining, enlightening, informative, however you like to call it, folks. But main thing is thank you for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.
That's right.